Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Call It Anything podcast. I'm Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
All right, and we are back here today, this time to discuss the other wrestling promotion in wrestling that we usually talk about. But before getting into that, sir, how are you? I know school has started.
Well, we are well and truly underway, sir. Labor Day weekend upon us. Couldn't come sooner. Yeah, we've got a lot going on.
If you think LA Knight should appear at Wembley, give me a yeah.
When would he have appeared at Wembley? We'll look for that out. We'll look for that opportunity as we discuss the evening's proceedings. But Jack, how's your year? Or how's your August shaping up?
Doing all right. You know, slowly but surely approaching that move as we've discussed over the past couple of episodes with the audience.
Of course.
And then other than that, you know, just been doing my own work on the side, you know.
I have earmarked because I did see the G1 finals. I saw the G1 climax, semifinals, and finals. I missed the whole tournament, as listeners might recall happening every year for the last 3 or 4 years. But I have made a point to watch the Konosuke Takeshita matches, cherry pick those, and then listen to whatever insight you gave that series of matches on that episode that I saw a post of.
Yeah, I was just about to say that the listeners know that I believe in the last episode I was talking about how like I was watching Takeshita's run. And by the time this episode now comes out, that has been out. I think I put it out last week, I believe. Yeah, so I put on the Triple Crown. And then, funny enough, I think tomorrow, should I have the opportunity, I have one for, I don't know if you've been hearing the rounds about it, but I saw a lot of people talking about that guy from NXT competing in Noah's version. So I went and watched that one as well. Because it's funny because I even talk about it. I'm like, well, the Konosuke Takeshita one was more so just me trying to get myself to watch more wrestling this year. This one, I want to see, you know, this, you know, young star. You know, I think he only has like a year of experience under his belt. Like, I was like, I'm very interested to see, especially because, you know, how often is it that we get to see WWE sending one of their wrestlers out like this?
Are you talking about Josh Briggs?
No, I think the other one, Tavion Heights, I think his name is, the former Olympian. Yeah.
That's cool. I saw their names thrown around, and yeah, it'd be really cool to see and hear your takes on those.
Yeah, and especially because I was like, hey, I already have Wrestle Universe because of Marigold and Tokyo Joshi Pro. I was like, let me catch this since I, you know, have this opportunity. And every time I use Wrestle Universe, I'm just always wishing, especially over here on the AEW side, that we just somehow could bypass all the TV rights and media rights and just find a way to get so many promotions under one, you know, subscription service.
Hey, and this Saturday, I subscribed to Rev Pro because they had their 12th anniversary special on Saturday in London. And I watched about half of it. I got to watch the other half. But I was really drawn by the Grizzled Young Vets were on the card. Dijak versus Gabriel Kidd hasn't been spoiled for me. And it's funny, Jack, if a match or a show hasn't been spoiled for me, I take that to mean nothing happened of note.
That's actually how I felt with some of the like Ring of Honor big shows, where I'm like, well, if I don't see anyone making a big deal out of, like, let's say Athena losing her belt, I just assume, oh, she had another successful defense.
You know. But I started to watch it. Something came up, and I'm going to finish it this week before, you know, that post appears.
Yeah, and then going back to what you were talking about, the G1, saying you caught the finals, could you imagine if you hadn't caught him yet, if it somehow didn't get spoiled for you, and then you end up getting spoiled by tuning into AEW All In?
It's so unfair, Jack. You're like, well, it's how much safer could I be? This isn't even the same company.
But we'll get all to all of that later. But, you know, let's just get right into it. Of course, we're talking about AEW All In 2024, returning to Wembley. A lot of hype behind this one, especially because a lot of the names are healthy now, you know. Last year, Danielson
Oh,
wasn't
sure.
healthy. I'm trying to remember a couple other people who missed out. I think there was also like people who just like missed out maybe due to scheduling or like some stuff like visa, but we did see
Yeah, if
quite a
it,
few people.
if I can recall, I'll bring it up as we go down the card. Jack, did you watch the pre-show?
I got to watch bits and highlights of certain matches, but I didn't get to watch it completely in full.
I watched it. How good was a Sunday morning pay-per-view, by the way? I'm grateful I looked that up because I would have been tuning in at night going, "Oh, of course. They're in London. It started at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m."
Yeah, and you know, I for one am also glad of that because you know, some might look at it as unfair, but I think a lot of times I don't end up highly rating, especially a lot of times the main events of whether it's WWE or AEW shows, because I'm
Yeah,
so tired by the end of it.
yeah.
Whereas this show, it's like the main event's happening by 12, 1 o'clock ish, and it's just like, man, I'm wide awake and I actually get to sit here and enjoy it.
So I just pulled up the pre-show card, Jack, and um, there are three matches. The one I wanted to lift for you, I was like, you know what I mean? Like, you and I will watch these things, and I'm sure you're like me, where you're like, is this going to crack my top 10? Jack, let me tell you about this match. It's a 16-man tag team match. There's 8 guys on one side, 8 guys on the other side. Jack, I think there were more guys in this one pre-show match than in the entire Bash at Berlin card for WWE.
Yeah, I was telling my dad about that like, I think, I don't know if they've made any changes, but the last time I saw it was only 4 matches on the card.
So imagine, like, 4 matches, most of them singles, that's like 8 people. And this one match on the AEW All In pre-show had 16 people.
Yeah, I remember
It
when they
was
announced
a
this.
farce.
Yeah, my goodness. I remember when they announced it, and it was just like, I remember like seeing a thing. I'm like, how are you gonna fit 16 people around that ring?
It made it work somehow. And it's the like match equivalent of 6 tsunamis, right? Like one, it's one thing. 4, it's something else. 6, we're talking about history being made here.
Oh man. And I guess the one thing I'll highlight from this match especially is that quite a lot of like people, or like I'm mainly looking at like 2 teams specifically that you wish were getting an elevation up the card, especially considering how much we've been told they're the future, especially a certain tag team that we were told was the future at the start of AEW 5 years ago. I'm talking about Private Party. And it's like, I don't want to spoil up ahead, but it's like, you look at the tag title match that's happening and like, we've seen 2 of these tag teams already face each other. When are we going to get something new, and you got 2 teams. But at the same time, I understand what someone was saying where they were like, you look at Top Flight, you look at Private Party, Tony Khan's more than likely just waiting for them to, prove they can be healthy after such injuries previously. But at the same time, it's like, you can't wait too long, because you never know when those injuries might come up again.
When you were hyping up or building up to reveal that team that was sold to us as the future of the company or the division 5 years ago, I was going to say, oh, you mean Dark Order? I'm sure.
Yeah, them too.
Yeah. Real schmaz. We don't got to go over anything. There was a Satnam Singh versus Leo Rush standoff. That was like maybe my biggest takeaway from that entire affair. That entire 11-minute affair.
Yeah. And then the other highlight from the pre-show, which caught me off guard, but at the same time, after learning more like from the news, it didn't really catch me too off surprise after learning. But we have Jamie Hayter returning.
Yeah, to confront
Double or Nothing last year.
And to confront Saraya, who was out there reminding us all she was winning the women's title at this event, and she's not even on the card. So it was cool to see her surrounded by her family. I like that. Like, visual. You know what I mean? Like that entourage, and then Jamie Hayter with some pretty cool entrance music.
Yeah. Was glad to see her. She missed Wembley last year, didn't get to defend her championship at Wembley, which she presumably would have without the injury.
Correct.
And people were so confused. I mentioned it, so I'll talk about it here real quick before we get into the main show. People were like, why isn't this happening on the main card? Why isn't she interfering in the Britt Baker Mercedes Moné match? And then it's like you see the reports. Oh, apparently her and Baker had a falling out to the point where she doesn't want anything to do with her. And you're just like, well, I guess it makes sense to be on the pre-show.
There you go.
But moving forward to our main show, entrances happened on the pre-show because they want to get things going straight from the start. We start off our night with, or our morning technically, with the London ladder match for the AEW World Trios Championships. You got the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Kill Switch, and Nick Wayne defending their trios titles against Bang Bang Gang, Juice and the Guns, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King, House of Black. And then the team that won the night before on Collision, Pac, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli.
Pac, another wrestler who missed last year's All In show.
Yeah. And people were thinking he was going to miss this one, especially because with Ospreay and MJF tied up in their storyline for the international championship, which apparently I didn't know this because I haven't been keeping up with AEW as much as I used to. Pac was number one contender, or like he had an opportunity at it, and everyone was like, "Oh, so he's gonna face someone at Wembley," and then MJF and Ospreay happened, so they were like, "Well, we got to give him something." He mentioned not wanting to miss Wembley, so this is his way of not missing Wembley.
It's funny how random his participation in the Blackpool Combat Club feels, even though he is geographically from the closest to the Blackpool, England area, right?
Yeah.
But I also heard that him being paired with Claudio and Wheeler is a result of Pentagon and Ray Phoenix sort of, their future in AEW not being entirely clear. So otherwise, he may have been a part of Death Triangle in this match.
Yeah, and I think at our last recording, I can't remember if we mentioned it, but I think that was something I wanted to mention but forgot, was that, the news broke that Penta and Phoenix could potentially be heading over to WWE.
Yeah, so, how do you feel about that?
I don't want people to think I'm a WWE hater because I wouldn't be covering the pay-per-views weekly with you if I didn't enjoy some of the stuff. But I think I mentioned in the last episode, tag division kind of looking lackluster right now, not due to talent. They got some talented teams, but booking more so.
Yeah.
Can't say, I just can't say I have too much faith in them going,
Yeah.
Especially if it's to the main roster. NXT seems to be more promising for a lot of these guys, even though it doesn't really make sense for, veterans such as them to be down there. But, it's probably better than what would be happening on the main roster.
I will build on that, Jack. Not only do you have little faith in their handling of tag teams, I have little faith in their ability to handle luchadors.
Yeah.
Escobar, what's his name? Angel, what's his name? And Humberto. Garza.
Dragon Lee just barely made his return.
Dragon Lee, come on now, right? So, they have, literally a show's worth of a roster of just luchador Hispanic guys, Mexican guys, that don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. Here's two more.
Yeah. Really just don't know. I was very confused by the move because I was like, I don't know. I'll wait and see. I'll try and be optimistic. But yeah, I can't say I'm too eager to hear that news. And it's funny
Andrade,
everyone I've talked to, they just don't seem too excited. My dad was confused by the news. Marco was confused by the news. Our cousin was confused by the news. Everyone I know that watches wrestling were just yeah, that's a move that they don't really think makes sense.
The only way I can get behind them signing with a WWE is if the two of them, with their lucha masks on, start wearing suits and ties and sit with like glasses of brandy next to them by a fireplace and do like the Mr. Burns finger thing and like in Spanish go, I am destined for great things. Like if they don't do that, I'm not in. But if they do it, let's go. Give them the Andrade, Escobar, Alberto Del Rio, everybody introduction.
Oh man. But getting into our actual match, sir, what do you think of this one?
It was a ladder match, sir. It was a whole lot of everything, right?
Yeah, and not only that, I'll go as far as to say it's an AEW ladder match, so you know things are going to be chaotic.
Christian Cage doing his best by leaving when it gets heated, and after everything that goes down, and we've got that like, 8-man, what's it called? Like not a double down, but a double down.
Yeah.
Here comes Christian Cage to come out, fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember some other, pretty big spots. I mean, that's the one thing with these AEW ladder matches. So much, especially when it's the tag or trios teams, like, they do so much that it's always hard to, like, think about the crazy spots that you see.
Kill switch. There's I think a kill switch choke slam foray or a series of them, right? One of them onto a ladder.
Yeah, I remember that. There was Claudio hitting everyone with the uppercut, and then I think it's on Juice or one of the Guns that he does the springboard one off the ropes. Like everyone else was kind of eating some normal ones, and that one he hits a springboard on. Got to see a lot from House of Black, especially Malachi Black looking really rejuvenated, like from his injuries that were like previously ailing him. It's like he looks really reinvigorated,
Yeah. Did you have a favorite going into this?
Honestly, I would have been fine with any of the teams winning, to be honest. I kind of wanted Bullet Club to win them back, because I kind of thought the whole, you can't have Juice defend them, like you can't do the Freebirds rule with them. I thought that was kind of dumb. So, like, and I've really enjoyed Juice's work ever since coming to AEW. So, it was like, I was hoping to see them, especially, to just give the Bullet Club something,
Yes.
Going back to the tag thing, Juice and Jay White last year, before Juice got injured, were doing real good work in the tag division with FTR, especially over on Collision. It's like, I wish they could, to give us something new, to have those guys in the tag division. I think that's my only, like semi complaint with the trios titles. It's like, it seems it's really like, instead of just having it be like, oh, okay, teams can be both in the tag and trios, it's like it always seems like they're trying to make these teams choose one or the other, like the Guns joined Bullet Club and now they're no longer challenging for the tag titles, only the trios ones. We haven't
and then
seen
these multi trio, right? There's 4 teams, 12 guys participating in this, right? I don't know. It makes me long for sort of a more traditional, just one team versus one team. Is it boring? Maybe, but it's just a little easier to follow and maybe a little more memorable,
Yeah, I mean, we see some other pretty big spots. I forget, was it Malachi Black? Was it one of the Guns? Someone, I think, either gets chokeslam or I think it's like Juice that like they get pushed off the apron, like through one of the tables, and like the table doesn't give and instead like falls. So it's like they just hit splat and then fall off and like the table tips over. And I was just like, oof.
That was tough to watch.
Yeah. But I believe the ending spot we see, Christian fighting to get up that ladder. I think he's fighting Buddy Matthews. Killswitch gets involved.
Yeah, he starts to carry Christian on his shoulders up the ladder so that he can retrieve the belts.
Yeah, and then that's when Pac comes in, I believe.
He sure does.
I forget what he does.
I can't picture it either.
Yeah, but Pac does something, climbs up those ladders, gets his Wembley moment by winning the trios titles with Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta.
And the team that's named for a town in his neck of the woods.
Yeah. Good opener, hot start for the crowd. and we move on to our next match. One that surprised me was this, high up the, or not high up the card, down the card, I guess you would say, like towards the start. But at the same time, I almost welcome it because, you strike while the crowd is hot, and get them most involved. And of course, we're talking about the AEW Women's World Championship match, Timeless Toni Storm defending against Mariah May.
And in the pre-show, we had Owen Hart's widow, Martha Hart.
Yeah.
She came out to wish good luck to the winners of the Owen Hart Cup tournaments, who won their rights to challenge for their titles, including Mariah May.
Yeah.
It was a very awkward presentation. I don't know why they did it, except they did it.
We have here the most, or not the most, or well, currently I would say on the card, the most built-up storyline, and one of the best storylines in AEW's history so far. And I would go as far as to say probably the best in the women's division's history so far. A division that, hasn't gotten a ton of time and support in previous years up until, I want to say, this year, Like, because even last year I remember them not getting much time, much stories, and it was like things sort of shifted this year. And, this story between these two women is a big part in that, especially because, Tony Khan and them and, like, Mariah May, they let it be known that, like, they had this story planned out from the moment they were trying to sign her. Like, they pitched her this whole story, like, so it's good to see that, that development in the women's division where it was like they had a full storyline planned out before they even signed the other half of that story,
Yeah, and, it's, we've talked for the last year, right? It's funny, we're all sort of exhausted of Roman Reigns and long title reigns, but here's Toni Storm, who's been champion forever and a half, right? And we've waited for months for somebody who come even close to being able to beat her. But we've seen her put down challengers left, right, and center. And you and I, Jack, would sort of think, yeah, it was never going to be her, right? But here we go, Mariah May, a product of Toni Storm's own creation, come after her in a very calculated way. It's funny, I heard a podcast say that, like, as good as the story's been and for as long as they've given it, so they may have felt a little too long at the end, like, for the majority of August. Like, because she turns on her, like, at the end of July. And I don't know what they've done for 4 weeks, but you're like, I was ready for this match to happen first weekend of August. And you're like, oh, we've got 3 more weeks. Okay.
Yeah. But, I was very pleasantly pleased to see them, just have this dedication towards the women's division that, hasn't gotten that, And it's not due to the talent because we've seen them have the talent before, but it was just like, I think that's the biggest surprise, especially as like the jump in time. Like, I think last year, only one women's match on Wembley went about like 8 minutes, I want to say. We had 3 of them, if you're including the pre-show, you had 3 of them.
Right. So, what did you think of this one?
I really enjoyed this one, especially the start of it, with them just going back and forth, really selling not only like the hatred and, the fact that, like, they really just wanted to get at one another, Like, there wasn't none of this, let's try and lock up and get a feel for one another. It was straight into the fists.
I agree. I like that, and I'm always mindful of that. Especially when, people are left bloody in the build-up to this match.
Yeah. And that was the thing I liked the most was, like, they set an expectation and, like, they followed through with it, like, every time they were fighting, it really, like, matched the energy that they had built, and, like, the one thing I liked the most, too, was also, like, despite her character, it was, like, I don't think we really saw any real, like, comedy spots from Toni Storm that, like, we've seen in, like, past matches. It was, like, it was 100%, like, she was serious about just, inflicting as much damage on Mariah as possible.
Yeah, there was maybe some story being told through Luther, whom we hadn't seen since he got thrown off, like, the stage, right? But it was kept to a minimum. And I actually half expected him to turn on Tony, too, But he's, so I had my eye on him. All he did was a lot of facials. I don't think he physically ever got involved.
Yeah. what's it called? The one spot that confused me, but like I don't really know. Like maybe someone can explain it to me. Maybe I'm not like reading too well. What's it called? The part that confused me the most was the involvement of Mariah May's mother. That kind of like threw me off, but I guess it was like to like really amp up her heelness, where she slapped her own mother.
I mean, it's not like Mama Rhodes that we just sort of know who this woman is sitting at ringside. Thank goodness commentary, like, is on duty. That was a little awkward.
Yeah, like I said, it kind of confused me because I was like, like I said, I what's it called? Sorry, I'm blanking. I understood, like it made her look more of a heel, like even her biggest supporter on commentary, Nigel McGuinness, was having real tough times supporting that decision, and defending it.
I'll see your Mariah May's mother randomly being there to be slapped, and then Tony Storm, like, why I liked it after all is Tony Storm comes in and, like, you know what I mean, hugs her, right? Yeah. She's like definitely the face now. You like that, like, reinforcement of that character, but who do they keep cutting to in the box?
Oh, that is Mina Shirakawa from Stardom.
Right, and she was Tony Storm's opponent last time we saw him, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad commentary made note of it. Yeah, Forbidden Door. I'm glad commentary also made sure to note that she was Mariah May's tag partner, one tag gold with her in Stardom. So it was like, it gave you an idea of like why they were showing her, and then also a part of me feels like they're showing her because she's more than likely joining this company. Like that just feels like a bit of a foreshadowing,
I'll take that. I think that's a stretch because they kept cutting to her reacting. You're like, who is it? Like, I know her. I don't know what. She doesn't interfere, right? She's 100 miles away from the ring, so she's not going to interfere, right? Mama Mariah May had a better chance of doing that. I don't know, just to see her like wince or worry, and you're like, oh, I don't know. It wasn't clear who she was rooting for, what she was thinking. I don't know.
Any spots that stand out to you, sir? I know the big one because it causes blood to be shed is Tony hitting the Storm Zero on the ring steps, which causes Mariah to bleed.
Yeah, the only other one was the end. Because a match like this, Jack, and I feel like I'm watching wrestling now, and I find myself thinking, if they ended it here, like, you know what I find myself doing? I'm like, don't wuss out. End it here. End it now. And this match did. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Trying to remember the ending. It's always so difficult. Like, I try and write stuff down, but I always...
correct me if I'm wrong, I suspect Mariah May wins with Storm Zero.
Yes.
She won with something else.
No, I believe she won with the Storm Zero.
I think she beats Tony with her own move, and I think I remember having the thought, let her win here. Let her win here. And then they pin her, 1, 2, 3, and I go, oh, man, yeah, Tony Storm, we've been waiting for the right person, and Mariah May, that's the person right there. You just made a big old deal.
I also just remembered, because you said using her own move, she was also using that hip attack on Tony, but, like Mariah had used like 3 or 4 of them, whereas like Tony needed one. I kind of like that spot because like it really plays into like that sort of like headcanon thinking that a lot of people use in wrestling, where they're like one person uses it as a finish because maybe they have a different way of doing it, or like maybe this person has more force, which is why it's a finisher for them versus this other person, when they use it, it isn't as effective, so
that's why Will Ospreay can't put anyone away with a Styles Clash.
Yeah, so I like that spot. And then I just remembered one thing from the ending that I wasn't like, it's the tiniest nitpick, but like I kind of have to mention it just because of the whole, I talked about the story, and them really living up to that expectation. I get, the story of it, the drama of it, Tony Storm really hesitating to use that shoe on Mariah May,
That's right.
But a part of me is like, I don't know how well that fits the story, considering Tony Storm literally told Mariah May, "Are you ready to die? Because I am." And it's
I know exactly what you're describing, Jack. I think I maybe wrestled with it too. I think I like Tony Storm softening, you know what I mean? Like her edge, and that costing her the title. Because she lost? If she hadn't lost, if she won and held back, I'd have been mad with you.
Yeah.
Or, frustrated. But the fact that this was her downfall, she'll come back knowing that she ain't gonna pull no punches, right?
Yeah, like I said, just a tiny thing, especially because I don't think they're done here. I think they'll.
No.
There's definitely gonna be some time between this and whenever the next match is, but that just like I said, it doesn't take away from the match too much for me. I really enjoyed this match. Not to give spoilers, but it's one of if we gave a list, it's up there as one of my favorites from the night. Real good match, real good story from these two women. Real glad to see them get the time, and real glad to just see everyone show the support that they did for this match. I saw so much praise for these two. And I like how AEW sometimes does those after match promos or whatever that they'll post to social media. I like how Tony immediately went into trying to continue her story. We see her leaving immediately, really wandering off on her own. And it's you're just ready to see where this goes next.
Agreed.
Oops, sorry. What we aren't ready to see next, though, is our next match.
You talking about, the women's championship match, one of the best matches of the night. But this upcoming defense of the FTW for the World Championship, easily the best match of the night. Said no one ever.
We have Chris Jericho defending that FTW championship against Hook. And,
Hey, don't forget Fozzie's second performance at Wembley. They've performed at Wembley twice, Jack, because that's how that works.
My goodness.
My goodness, Jack.
I don't really even have much to say on this match. The biggest thing that I saw someone say online that I want to echo here because of how true it is very upsetting to see the lack of progression with a lot of different AEW stars, because last year Hook was here at Wembley fighting for the FTW championship, and now here he is this year, 1 year later, still fighting for the FTW championship.
I hear you, Jack. But let's not take for granted that he last year was fighting Jack Perry, who himself was wrestling with glass. And here we are a year later. Oh, never mind, Jack.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this was a slog, sir. This was you had Big Bill and Brian Keith, I don't know, throwing themselves around and getting involved too. But I don't have much to say short of the end.
Yeah, we get to see Taz choke, I think, Brian Keith out. Hook.
Taz gets up, frustrated with Brian Keith and Big Bill's involvement, and he said, he's going to start playing by his own rules, and gets up, and the crowd's reaction to him walking up and grabbing Brian Keith, it's up there, Jack. If I were, not matches, but just moments, Taz getting that moment. And I'm like, Taz is too much of a professional not to get at Chris Jericho, which is what I really want.
Yeah.
He's out of shape, he's older, but we saw him grab Brian Keith in a way that was pretty cathartic.
Yeah.
And Hook wins.
Yeah, and Hook wins. And, as much as I, complain, I did see, I think Taz said on, I think it was, Twitter afterwards, he, mentioned that, him and Hook, sorry, him and Hook were, having discussions, and, they were basically alluding to, maybe it's time to, retire the FTW championship, so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here.
Yeah. I kind of wish Hook, isn't, I think, best when he doesn't say much. I wish Hook looked at the camera on this pay-per-view that we all paid to view, and I wish he'd have said FTW stands for, and then say what it stands for. But he didn't.
But we move forward to our next match, another title match. The AEW World Tag Team Championships are on the line in a three-way. Champions, Young Bucks, defending against FTR and the Acclaimed.
Yep.
Sir, what were your thoughts going into this match?
This is different, Jack, from the 8 times we've seen FTR and the Young Bucks, because the Acclaimed are here now.
Isn't it funny? Back in 2020, everyone was talking about the dream match between the Young Bucks and FTR, and you know how it's a match they want to see. It's never happened, and now it's happened so much to where everyone's just like, I don't want to see another one.
Do you think you would have enjoyed more, Jack, a Acclaimed versus Young Bucks straight up tag match?
If I'm being honest, no.
That's funny, because I don't know if I would have enjoyed it anymore either. Is there any memorable spots that stand out to you?
None off the top of my head. Like I don't want to sound like a terrible host that like isn't paying attention to the matches, but it's like I can only be honest. You know, it's like
No, it's true. So like when I was talking about Taz getting up as like a moment, right? Like I have an easy top like 5 moments matches. I mean, listen, Jack, I'm glad it was early and I'm glad I was in my PJs, but there was a series of double team moves where for some reason they were all helping each other. So you saw Max Caster hit a V trigger, and you saw, I think, him participate in a shatter machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think there was also like the Power and Glory spot that like they did.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, but this to me is just really a whole I guess you would call it oversaturation thing, where it's like, you know, I don't mind them like challenging, but it's like we've seen these 3 teams quite a lot, you know. I mean,
yeah,
they Acclaimed last year with their trios run. We've seen the Bucks hold the titles. We've seen FTR hold the titles. It's like, I don't know, like off the top of my head, I could list so many other teams that I would have rather seen in this spot, you know.
And you know what's funny? You could have listed, I don't know, 8 teams to see in this spot. And what does AEW do, Jack? And what does Tony Khan do? He introduces a whole brand new tag team, because that's what you needed. You needed 2 brand new people on this roster, because after the Young Bucks frustratingly retain, they're confronted by the grizzled young veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake. What are you doing here? Are they here to challenge for the titles? Is this a fresh matchup that we're excited to see? No, Jack. For some reason, they turn on FTR and make it their intentions that they're going to beat them up for some reason. Because, you know, I guess it's an act that it's better as a heel. But what a way to present that.
And that's another thing that confuses me, you know. I agree, the vets are better as heels, you know. How are you going to have them face off against the Young Bucks in a heel versus heel dynamic, you know?
I mean, yeah, all of that would have made more sense if FTR won. I don't know. I guess they're just going to fight FTR because, or who has the best acronym?
Yeah, I mean, I'll welcome
JYV or FTR.
I welcome JYV, you know, to the tag division, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you can bring in as many intriguing teams as you want, but it's all about utilizing them best, you know, like
maybe their feud's gonna be, we had a worse time at WWE. No, we had the worst time at WWE. They made me wear a contact. They made us shave each other.
Oh man, that would be hilarious. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they go. I'm just praying that all except maybe Okada, all of the Elite lose their titles, you know. Okada I'm more fine with. I just want him having more defenses, you know. But like the Bucks, I mean, I'm all right on Perry, you know. We'll talk about him more later, but the Bucks, I'm just like, please get them off. Like this whole storyline hasn't really played out the way it started.
Yeah.
Like it started off hot with them beating up Tony Khan, and like having that all happen. But it's like the moment Tony Khan came back, it was just like, okay, well, there's nothing to do with this story now.
Yeah, and I don't think, like, based on what we've seen, there's no, like a Mariah May, there's no heir to the throne being built up. There's no one we can look forward to, rising to the occasion.
Yeah.
When, the end isn't in sight, and it just seems like a long road ahead of us.
Yeah. I could name you teams that I would want, but it's like, they're not doing anything right now, so how do we get to that point,
Yeah.
But just have to wait and see.
You have to wait and see. And speaking of long road ahead of us, the next match is a gauntlet match. A casino gauntlet match.
Yeah, with the winner...
It's at all a Royal Rumble, Jack.
Yeah, with the winner getting a chance at the AEW World Championship anytime.
Which was a unique wrinkle. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I think also played heavy into what I was going to think about in the main event.
Yeah, ahead of this, I saw so many people coming up with fantasy bookings. So it was going to be interesting to see what happened,
Oh, what happened, Jack? Oh, what happened in this 26-minute, tied with the main event as the longest match on the card. Oh, what happened?
What a crazy match it was. We start off with Orange Cassidy and Okada.
Do you have a list of the participants?
I don't... Oh, yeah, actually, I do have a list. And I have the order of entry in front of me.
Excellent. I'm going to rely on you.
Yeah, so we start out with Okada and Orange Cassidy. Get to see some comedy from Okada where he calls Orange Cassidy to give him a hug. And then us at home get to see the face he makes, like, of disdain before beating up on Cassidy.
Because Orange Cassidy is a, former member of Chaos.
Yeah. See the two of them fighting.
Yep.
And then the countdown starts. 3, 2, 1. And our third participant, a man who left ringside after the Mariah May match, which we forgot to mention. The man got a kiss from Mariah May, and it was enough to reinvigorate his entire career, coming out after at least a decade. I forget the exact number of years, but over a decade since his last time wrestling. Nigel McGuinness makes his return to wrestling as far as in-ring in front of his, home country, we'll say, because I can't remember where exactly he's from.
Yep.
Nigel McGuinness returns. Commentary obviously reacts, saying like confused, especially, but it's like, well, he left ringside. I was able to tune in live for this one because there was some things that kept me from tuning in live for the previous matches, but I was able to tune in live for this one. Very happy to see. I've been talking about wanting to see Nigel's return since he returned at the Ring of Honor show we attended.
Yes. What did you think, Jack, of his performance before we go on to more participants?
Yeah, so I will say, definitely some ring rust, I would say, but that's to be expected from a guy coming out, after a decade not being in that ring.
Yes, but, I agree. It was pretty apparent, but I think a pretty forgiving crowd, and it's a gauntlet match, so easy for him to spill outside and kind of go missing for a while.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed a lot of the spots he had, especially because of how would you put it? Almost like how aware the crowd was. Obviously it makes sense. Home, that's his home. Of course, they're gonna know a lot of stuff about Nigel, but it was like they were very aware. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but later in the match when he hits the Tower of London, it's like they're hyped about that. They're hyped about him interacting with a certain other participant that comes into play later. It's like they're very aware of just how big a moment this was.
Agreed, and the nature of these multi-man matches, right? You even get a glimpse of Nigel McGuinness versus Okada. And you're like, what universe are we in, Jack?
Yeah. Who would have thought in the year of 2024 this is something we'd see, And oh gosh, there was something else I was gonna say that I just blanked on. Oh, I liked everyone immediately as they saw Nigel come out and they calmed down from their excitement. I saw so many people online just going, man, Nigel McGuinness hates Bryan Danielson that much that he's going to come out of retirement and fight in this match just on the off chance that Danielson wins in the main event so that he can fight him for that title.
That's exactly where my mind went, Jack. And, if like Taz choking Brian Keith was in my top moments of the night, another underrated moment on the pre-show was Nigel McGuinness talking to, I don't think it was Renee Paquette. Somebody's interviewing him about what do you think Brian Danielson's chances are in the main event. And he cuts an amazing promo, Jack, and says, the sun's going to set on the American Dragon. Something poetic like that. He was just so poetic about how much he wanted Danielson to lose. Yeah. I was like, I want to replay that like with my morning coffee to get me hyped for the day. My goodness. Set a Metro Boom tune to that.
But our next participant, Kyle O'Reilly, comes out. So the conglomerate, is slowly but surely teaming up. Him and Orange Cassidy facing off against Okada, facing off against Nigel McGuinness. Not too much to highlight from here until we get to our fifth one. And this is what I was talking about earlier with Mr. Solis saying, imagine if he didn't tune in for the G1 finals, if he hadn't had it spoiled for him yet. Out comes Zack Sabre Jr., which, how is that a spoiler? He's here for, he's a guy from England, home country guy. It's like, oh, okay, nice to see him here, be able to perform. But why is it a spoiler? Oh, well, because commentary immediately notes, hey, look, it's the winner of the G1 Climax this year.
Thank goodness I was free last weekend to watch those matches. How mad would I have been at Excalibur and Tony Schiavone if they ruined this for me now?
But yeah, Zack Sabre coming off that big win in the G1 Climax Finals gets to make an appearance at Wembley.
Did you know that Zack Sabre Jr. is not going to challenge for the title at Wrestle Kingdom?
I heard about that.
He's going to do it sooner with the hope that he can bring it into Royal Quest in October. Royal Quest, one of those other shows we can't, for some reason, watch.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see,
I hope he beats Naito, because Naito's going to follow. He's like, you've ever chewed gum for too long, and you're like, I should have spat this. Like, my man is some falling apart in your mouth gum.
We thought Rollins was being held together by tape and prayers. Naito's knees, man.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, and funny enough, recently I saw photos of, I think it's Ivar and Sami Zayn. They were going to get stem cell treatment. And all the replies were like, someone tell Tanahashi and Naito to please go do this as well. Oh, man.
Comes in, I think with like a kind of elevated perception, as a G1 Climax winner and challenger for the IWGP Heavyweight. No, it's not IWGP anymore. The New Japan Heavyweight Championship. He's coming in wrecking fools, twisting their necks with his feet, right? Gets that stare down with Nigel. Yeah. Great. This is wrestling.
Yeah, what's it called? Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly immediately want, Adam. Takes his time, takes down both. And like you said, we get that stare down with Nigel, which, I was mentioning earlier, the crowd was very aware, to be able to see that, was a cool moment. Could potentially set up for something. I mean, we know Zack Sabre Jr. especially can work with these wrestlers, who have to be a bit careful coming out of, like long, hiatuses from wrestling, we saw him do it with Shibata, even though it was an exhibition. It was like, you could do something like that with Nigel if, he can't do anything too extensive,
100%.
And then after Zach, Roderick Strong comes in, and at this point, this is looking like Ring of Honor PWG of the 2010s at this point. Or
Jack,
late 2000s.
I mean, is there a set number of Casino Gauntlet participants? Because every time somebody new came in, I was just like overwhelmed, Jack. I was like, when are they gonna stop? Especially when after like Zack Sabre Jr., I was like, the big name, huh? Oh no, it's Roderick Strong. Oh no, it's Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a set. Like, I never watched the first one, so I don't know there. We saw the second one.
I couldn't tell you how many people were in it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people were in it, and they did a story out of it where I think they said Roderick Strong was like coming out next, but then the pinfall happened.
The match ended. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a set number. I mean, if no one's getting pinned, does the whole roster just get a shot?
Can you imagine Brian Danielson's out there going, well, you haven't finished it yet. Hey, I love to see Okada and Mark Briscoe, current title holders, out there in this at all.
Oh, I know. Mark Briscoe.
Oh, and then imagine my surprise, Jack, in the G1 watching them semifinals where it's like current KOPW champion Great O'Khan. I'm like...
Yeah, I was watching the G1 and I was like, wait, who doesn't have a title at this point? After Mark Briscoe, we got Hangman Adam Page coming out, probably the favorite.
I'm sure, Jack, we're done. I am sure. We got Pyro. It's that guy who's gonna win it. I'm like, here we go. They're all in now, right?
Yeah, Hangman comes in, tosses some people, fighting with them, and then Jeff Jarrett comes out next.
Jeff Jarrett. I mean, cool. Love the pop with Karen Jarrett, on his arm, and people love him. And he's got his guitar, and he's had a run-in with Hangman, right?
Yeah.
But there we go, Jack. We're done. We're all here. We gotta get a winner.
Yeah, we see Hangman beating up on Jeff Jarrett. Probably gonna be the guy he pins to get this victory. Except it starts counting down again.
What the?
And out comes the music, and we don't
What's the point of music, Jack, if we don't know it?
Yeah, and not only that, we don't get to see the Titantron for a bit. This is AJ Styles' Royal Rumble type moment where we're zooming in on Hangman's face.
It is Hangman giving us the Roman Reigns, huh?
But finally it pans over. There's an R on the screen, and it extends to say Ryback.
What the? It says Ricochet.
Yeah, Ricochet making his AEW debut here in the Casino Gauntlet, sporting the black and gold, as Taz mentions.
Best of luck to old Ricochet in his new adventures. I don't want to be cynical and say that it's a harbinger of his time with AEW that his introduction is in this multi-man match.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what his ceiling is going to be in AEW. Interested to see where they go with him. I
wonder if his potential at AEW will be as limitless as his predecessors.
Oh man, I am interested because it's like he looked good here. I thought he had a good look, and like
he did.
I agreed with someone where it's like he looks the part. He wrestles the part.
Does.
It's just when he grabs that mic.
Goodness, you know what? Too after watching Nigel McGuinness kind of do his best, right? It was nice for a minute to see Ricochet do some liquid wrestling.
Yeah, he was really impressive with it.
Even adjusting his footing on the rope, he still nails everything he did.
Yeah.
But here we go, Jack. Big old name here. We're done. No more entrances. Who's gonna win this gauntlet match?
Except the clock starts counting down again.
Why? But who? There have been so many people on this card already.
The clock hits 0, and we start back again at 10 because here comes Christian Cage.
I love his Tron and his song. I love that Evanescence ripoff that it is. But I was so confused, Jack. And he comes limping to the ring, Jack. He has the exact same speed and limp as Dustin Rhodes in the pre-show, except Dustin Rhodes hadn't fought yet. He then just hobbles to the ring. Christian's hobbling, and I go, okay, fine. This gives a lot of drama to it all, too. But we're done. Jack. No more. We're up to 11 people.
Except the clock starts counting down again.
But who and why and how?
This time,
Luchasaurus. That's not even his name. Tron said Luchasaurus.
Yeah, and we see, we think we see some beef between him and Christian after the ladder match, but no, he's there to chokeslam I forget who, and Christian gets the win, confusing many people.
I'll give you a chance, Jack. Think of all the participants that we've named. Who did Christian Cage pin? Who did Killswitch chokeslam to end this schmoz?
I'm going to say Kyle O'Reilly.
Was Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah. Very confusing. You know, I really enjoyed the match. But was very confused by the choice of Christian winning it. You know?
Especially because of how many other way more interesting, way more exciting possibilities that were in this match.
Yeah, and especially because it kind of gives away the main event. Because everyone else, you're like, oh, everyone else could be an interesting matchup for either Danielson or Swerve, you know?
Yeah.
But you do Christian Cage, and you're like, well, Swerve already fought him at...
he did.
At Double or Nothing, I believe it was. So it's
he
like...
did.
You just kind of sit there confused and like, does that give away the main event?
And like, having just come off that trio stuff, right? Like, I don't know. This seemed like... I mean, you created a thing that could have worked for a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. Or give it a Christian. That's another thing, too. Like, that's the safest route you could have taken, and you took it.
Yeah. Gonna be interesting to see where they go with this. But, yeah, I can't say I was the biggest fan of it.
As soon as somebody... as soon as he won, I think I saw on Instagram somebody point out, I think Bryan Danielson's dad just died. And you're like, great. Got to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I saw someone like immediately went to look into it, and it was like back in like 2014, I think.
It was an exciting half hour of action, Jack. There was a lot of surprises. I was exhausted by this point. And you know, after seeing Nigel McGuinness sort of do what he did, I sort of tempered my expectations for that match.
Yeah. But we move forward to another match that's going to move probably like 1,000,000 miles per second and do a ton of stuff. You got MJF versus Will Ospreay for MJF's American Championship, International Championship, rebranded to the American Championship because MJF's a real American.
And this match needed... There's so much going into this match, Jack, and I kind of got a sense of it from like the video, the very short video package. But it made me think throughout the match, right? Like this he doesn't need to be overtly American. And if he was like, if the angle is I'm overtly American fighting in London, then we didn't need the you're not your kid's dad angle. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different fires on the burner. Or I'm trying to think of like an analogy. There's just a lot of, it's not just, is there a story? There's a lot of stories. And I think they're overlapping or getting in the way of each other.
Because you also got Ospreay's story of not wanting to hit the Tiger Driver.
Why is that also a part of this?
I can't hit the Tiger Driver. I nearly paralyzed the man. Also, that man is fighting in the main event of this same event.
Goodness. And did you see their first match? And then this is a rematch, Jack. This is the match that's happened, and I'm tempted to say the first one was better. Did you see the first one?
I saw bits and pieces.
Okay, you didn't watch the whole 58 minutes, Jack?
No.
What'd you think of this one?
I thought it was all right. Thought it was pretty good, but at the same time, I was very weary of what an MJF Will Ospreay program was going to look like, because I know the type of things that like MJF tends to lean into, you know.
Yeah.
and you pair that with a big move guy in Osprey who is gonna hit a ton of moves in a match. I was like, I'm very worried for how this is going to play out.
Somebody needs to stop Will Ospreay from his special entrance videos. They don't mean anything anymore. He gets like this 4-minute preamble because he's a big nerd. And I'm like, this doesn't serve any of the stories that we talked about. Like, this is just, it's a big show. This is a big match. And I'm going to just equate myself to Assassin's Creed again. I'm like, please stop. Please just come out. Please da 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 ah.
And especially, looking at Tony Storm, Mariah May, they're pretty quick with their entrances. No nonsense, really. It's like you brought up the whole story, like the different stories. It's like if there's all this animosity, it's kind of weird to see someone do a big entrance like this. I mean, the entrance is still
right,
cool,
right.
But
so
it's like,
is this bad blood between MJF and Will Ospreay? Is this nationalism? Right. That's another thing I hang up about MJF is like he turned into this all-American guy. It's never been his shtick. He just turned this thing on for a minute as we're going to Europe. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, I feel that too. Any spots stand out to you, sir?
Not to get too ahead, right? But there's a spot towards the end where MJ. There's a couple of spots for sure, but the one I like that comes right away to my mind is MJF. I mean, Will Ospreay goes for the hidden blade on MJF on the apron. MJF ducks, and Will Ospreay knocks out a cameraman. And what I loved about it is that, this isn't like a ref down. This is just reckless Will Ospreay not knowing his own strength. He goes so hard into that cameraman. It was great. Like, it's stupid, but because he goes so far into it, I go, that was a good spot. I like that spot a lot.
Yeah, that one was cool. I mentioned, like MJF leaning into certain things and like pairing that with Ospreay. We have that like Canadian Destroyer. I forget if it's on the ring apron or not.
I think it is.
And
he hits a Panama Sunrise because let's remember that never-ending feud with Adam Cole that he was in.
Yeah, and so I'm just kind of like I see it happen, and I'm just like, okay, like I don't want to be that type of person, but it's like I don't know. A lot of times in this match, I see them hit like certain moves, and like I'm just kind of like, but why?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I wasn't trying to be like too hateful on this match, but it was just like I don't know. There was a lot of times where I was just like, but why are we doing this?
Speaking of but why, Jack, in the crescendo of this match, there is outside interference from a good old-fashioned wrestling trope, which is a masked individual.
Yeah. Fully clad in black, we see someone appear and prevent MJF from using the brass knucks. I forget if the ref was down. I believe he got knocked down. Or he was trying to get rid of, like, the title, I think. I don't remember. But
it's true.
He stopped from using the brass knucks, which I don't know where the brass knucks come from. I thought it was the dynamite diamond ring that he usually uses.
I heard he might have lost it.
Oh. But the person stops him, and they remove their mask to reveal that it is Daniel Garcia.
Which people, like, even more befuddling to me, Jack, even more befuddling than the fact that it was Daniel Garcia, were the crowd's reaction to Daniel Garcia. Because I'm like, what do they know that I don't know? Why are they so excited by, like, anti-Riz, non-dancing Daniel Garcia? Haircut? Look good. I was like, why? This is the equivalent of that Mariah May match where they kept cutting to that woman, that female wrestler in the box. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I mean, I know there was that whole thing where MJF beat up like Daniel Garcia, but I don't know. I like Danny. I Actually, I don't even know what I hope for at this point for him. I don't know. I don't know what's better suited for him at this point. Staying in AEW, testing his luck over in NXT. You know, I don't really know what decision they're gonna make with him. I know I read that like he's under contract until like October, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting because I guess him appearing here kind of goes to show that maybe AEW has faith in re-signing him because they don't really put someone into a story if they know they're not gonna be here. You know, like Lucha Brothers aren't involved. We haven't seen Ricky Starks on TV.
Nope.
So, you know, probably some optimism here, but again, like a lot of those tag teams, it's like I welcome him back. You know, I would love to see him back. I think AEW is a place he could thrive, but it's like it's all dependent on, again, what's his ceiling, you know? Mm-hmm. I think that's the most frustrating part with AEW to me is like they started out as the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly but surely, they found themselves doing the exact same thing that they were trying to be the alternative of, because it's like, what was the big trope in WWE? The brass ring, having to go grab the brass ring, but certain guys not being able to go grab it because they had a ceiling implemented on them. You know, like they had a boundary, they had a set role that they could never overcome. Right. AEW, you're thinking is going to be the alternative, except, I don't know. Like, I told my dad, I was like, hey, 5 years ago, we were told these guys were the future. 5 years later, why are we still being told they're the future rather than the now? You know, so it's like, that's kind of where my frustration comes, where I'm just like, I hit
that with a fire extinguisher.
And like, I hope people realize this isn't me just trying to like talk bad on AEW. It's like it's genuinely just me wanting to see better. You know, like I want them to improve in some of these settings because it's like if you keep doing some of this stuff, it's like it makes sense why a guy like Garcia might leave if he just feels like he's going to be capped at the knees for the next couple of years solely because he's still young. You know,
this is 100% related. I thought the best thing to do was to put the NXT Championship on Ethan Page as quickly as they did. That guy rolled up. He's a new face. You know what I mean? And goodness gracious, I saw a guy on Instagram I make the observation that they didn't change his name. They didn't change his character. He didn't change his moves. He's literally the same guy who was at AEW, but presented just slightly differently. He means and is worth so much more.
Yeah, you know? And it's like I said, it's frustrating because it's like you have, and I think the thing that frustrates me the most too is like you have all these titles, you know. It's like and I'm gonna say this right now. If any AEW fans are listening, if you think this is salt, go listen to my rant at the end of the Konosuke Takeshita video that Mr. Solis was talking about that I put
Heck yeah.
out. I went into full ramble, and it's funny because on that channel I'm all about positivity. You know, like I make it a thing of like if I don't like something, I'm not gonna talk about it. You know, but at the end of that video, I went into like a full on rant saying, you know, like it's frustrating that Konosuke Takeshita can go and have this legendary G1 run and now has to come back to AEW where he's presumably not going to be capitalized on that momentum that he just built up. You have the TNT Championship, the International Championship, the Continental Championship, tag titles, trios titles, and you're telling me nothing for him? We have to watch the Bucks with the tag titles, but we have nothing for Konosuke Takeshita, Daniel Garcia, all because they're young. We have time until there they are leaving out the door because you didn't do anything with them.
If he had been on this show, he'd have lost to Christian Cage in that gauntlet match.
Yeah, I thought he might have made an appearance here, but I'm excited to see when he makes his return. Except I'm not, because he's going to be paired with Don Callis, and he's going to have that terrible theme song.
He's going to lose to Ricochet. Hey, let's look to the brighter future with the next match. Surely, Jack, this match isn't going to frustrate us creatively. It's the TBS Women's Championship. DMD Dr. Britt Baker challenges Mercedes Moné. Uh-oh.
And before we go on, we had to mention, because I don't think we said it at any point, Ospreay beat MJF, doesn't accept the American title, changes it back to the international one.
Thank you, Christopher Daniels, for being there with the original international title belt.
Yeah.
But it'd be funny if, like, he was like, here, take this, Will. And Will goes, yo, mate, this is the Continental. And he goes, oh, sorry. Yeah, hold here. Here's this one. He was like, oh, hey, mate, I hate to be that guy, but this is definitely, like, the TBS or TNT. You're like, oh, hold on. I got it around here somewhere.
Daniels went too far back, and it's the, what was it called? The, the All Atlantic, when it first was.
All right. Oh, like, too far, mate. Yeah. No, Jack. So here we go. TBS Women's Championship. Mercedes Moné. Surely this match, Jack. This match is going to live up to our expectations.
I don't want to get too off the record, but the fact that Bleacher Report in their like report for All In has this match rated and graded as a B-. I need whoever wrote this article to be drug tested immediately.
Do you think it ought to have been higher or lower than a B-?
I think a B- is too high.
Heck yeah. Hook and Jericho got a C+. I got the same report open. But Jack, I was feeling all kind of things about this match. Like, this match went so south so quick, I wondered if Britt still hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it had me worried, like, that something wasn't right.
Yeah, this match, it was one of the matches of all time, I'll tell you that. And again, playing into the frustration, you have so many better matchups that you could go with, you know. I get it. Britt was one of the biggest names when this division started, but the division has, you know, I don't want to shade Britt Baker, but the division has gotten better since the start.
Hey, now I tell you what, Jack, if we can spoil it, Mercedes wins, to my chagrin. Other options aside, if we're going to go with Britt and Mercedes is going to beat Britt, why, Jack? Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Why, Jack, did they eject Camille from ringside? Yeah. Why wasn't Camille the powerhouse bodyguard of the heel champion not a factor in the finish?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of confusing to have her ejected, you know? Didn't really agree with it.
Mercedes beat her clean. I'm like...
And not only that, Mercedes, please, can we please change the finisher?
Nah, Jack, that's a S-tier finisher, the jetpack flippy dealy. No, yeah, man, I hate it, and I don't know, like, WWE don't have a copyright on a crossface.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I think I've only ever seen her, like, at least in my opinion, I've only ever seen her hit it, like, once where I thought it looked good, but, like, every time I'm just like, it just doesn't work, you know? Especially because of, you know, that old school mindset of, like, I forgot who said it. Who was it? I remember there was, like, like, they were interviewing someone and they said they talked with, like, was it Arn Anderson? I don't remember. Some talent was saying, like, that, someone advised them that, like, if you're going to have a finishing move, you got to be able to hit it on everyone, you know?
Yeah. And she can't hit it on nobody.
And, like, yeah, it's like, even the lighter people similar size to her, like, it's not like a Charlotte moonsault situation where it's like she's just too tall to be hitting that move, you know? Or, like, you know, another situation where maybe, like, you know, the person's maybe too big to be hitting that move on. It's literally like, we've seen her wrestle people in similar size and, like, it just doesn't look good. And, like,
what doesn't also look good is the hope for the women's division, DMD Britt Baker getting pinned, clean as a whistle.
I mean, to me, it's just, again, like the tag division, it's like I would have rather seen some better matchups. You know, I mean, we literally get Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida in the build up to the Britt Baker match, rather than like having that match occur on a pay-per-view. You know, it's like that could have been the Wembley match. That could have been the match at All Out. You know, that could have been a match later on, and it's just nothing.
I would like to bring up, Jack, that when I subscribed or when I bought the All In show, I did not spring for the buy them both package. I said, listen, I don't know what's on the card for All Out. I don't think you know either, and I'm not going to hold my breath.
Isn't it funny how we literally said, oh, they put like 2 weeks in between so that like they can have more time, and it's like, I think the only match we have announced so far is Ospreay Pac for the International Championship. Hey, look, that's another champion challenging for a championship.
We better finish this show, Jack, before I chuck my laptop into the neighbor's backyard.
Oh, man. But hey, we don't have to worry about running out of time. But our next match worried about running out of time.
It's true. I read because of curfew.
Yeah, I was explaining that to my dad. That I think they have curfew out there because they want to make sure that like after these events, everyone's able to catch the last train out.
I love that you brought that up, Jack. I'm going to bring it up later. But we have a coffin match for the TBS Championship. Darby Allin challenges Jack Perry, the scapegoat.
And again, I don't want to sound like I'm just complaining and being negative. You know, interesting matchup here, you know, but again, I have to mention because someone mentioned again because it ties into so many of the talents. It's like a year ago, Darby Allin sure wasn't wrestling for the TNT Championship, but he was involved in a feud with the TNT Champion who he would be challenging at All Out for. I think he was challenging Christian. You know?
That's right.
And it's like, here we are a year later, and Darby's still tied to the TNT Championship. Obviously, he had the break with the tag titles with Sting, but it's like...
Again, you're 100% right, Jack. Goodness gracious. We are right back where we started. He challenges Christian Cage at Wrestle Dream?
Yeah.
Because it was in Washington.
Yeah.
It was like a sort of unexpected main event.
Oh, yeah, because then Edge came out.
Yes.
Or, sorry, Adam Copeland.
And, yeah, Christian threw Darby Allin around like an absolute ragdoll.
Last year it was Luchasaurus defeating Darby Allin for the Wait, when the heck did Luchasaurus win that belt? Why am I confused now?
He gave it to Christian.
Oh, that's right, yeah. But yeah, so that happened at All Out, and then they had the match at WrestleMania.
There it is, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he relinquishes it to Christian or fights on behalf of Christian. It's been a long year.
Yeah. But, so, yeah, again, like, I'm just trying to reiterate these points that I see people making, because it's also other AEW fans reiterating these points of, like, we're not seeing a ton of growth with some of these people, you know? Like,
agreed.
I mean, Darby is getting a world title shot at Grand Slam, I believe, because I think he won that battle royale where on the night of Blood and Guts where they do war games.
Uh-huh.
He won like the 2-ring battle royale to get a title shot at a Grand Slam, but it's like Darby Allin's been here from day one. Why have we not seen an elevation? You know, and again they're like, oh, Darby's young, we can wait some time, but it's like, how long is too long, you know? I mean, we literally saw in Japan, it's like they waited so long for Naito to get his run that, boom, pandemic happens and he doesn't even get a crowd.
Yeah, and Jack of Cultaholic is usually quick to point out how, you know, and they didn't build anyone up in the meantime, you know what I mean? So it's been a long drought of a couple of years, and I don't know people seeing Yota Tsuji, but I was rooting for Zack Sabre Jr. I really had, like, in that main event, in that finals, I'm like, the guy I'm pretty sure is going to win is the guy I definitely want to win.
Yeah, I I don't know how much of a controversial take it is, but at the end of my Konosuke Takeshita video, I literally say, in a perfect world, New Japan is somehow able to poach him and have him be their new ace.
Goodness.
But
hey, so what did you think of this coffin match?
Well, I definitely felt the time because I was watching it.
It was definitely short.
I was watching it and I was like, man, they're going pretty quick. Like, they brought out the glass real quick. They were going all around. They did the spot on the stage so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was good. It was like a big old train wreck type of match, that you would expect from these two.
Chucking Darby Allin off the stage onto tables was, I think, a good move to end the match on. I think it was funny how long it took him to drag him to the coffin to put him in there. In the body bag, right? He was in a body bag. And all that to say, Jack, they were short on time. They did as much as they could in like 10 minutes. I think it's funny, Jack, that we still needed to make time, though, for the end. Because we're not done. No, here come those Young Bucks. This is definitely worth the time that we shaved off. They've got gasoline and a lighter. What do they got cooking up there, Jack?
Yeah, it looks like, because at Blood and Guts, Darby tried to light Jack Perry on fire, so he's trying to get back at him for that.
It's funny, Jack. I didn't even have that context. I had no idea why they were doing what they were doing. But no, you're right. And this follows that kind of thread.
Yeah, so he's put in the body bag, put in the coffin, start pouring all that liquid on him, ready to light him on fire.
They even poured that gasoline into the coffin, on top of the coffin and in the coffin. That's heinous.
Yeah, like I was thinking, I'm like, if they go through with this, maybe they can get away with lighting the outside on fire. Like Darby will be fine inside, but it's just the visual of the outside. But then I saw them putting it inside, and I was like, oh. I was like, if they
I
do
was
this.
also trying to do like the magic math of like, I wonder if that's like a flame proof body bag. I wonder,
Yeah, like I was like, how are they gonna get away with this? Well, sir, what happens?
Well, you think Darby Allin is a guy who just doesn't have any friends, a friend in the world, and he's out in the middle of Europe, Jack. Who's going to come out to save him in the middle of London? Surely not the icon Sting, whom we last saw in March, very timely retire in North Carolina. It's 100% the icon Sting coming out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica.
Yeah, coming on out to help Darby Allin. And, real good finish, Really like Sting coming out, being that sort of guardian angel for Darby Allin.
I heard somebody wish it into existence, and when it happened, I was happy for them that it happened.
Yeah.
You want to, again, talk about, like, no movement, right? He retired, Jack. But here he is, right where we left him in March, coming to the aid of Darby Allin.
Yeah. And this is a match that, I kind of wish did get a bit more time. These two can definitely do a lot more. But I really liked what they were able to do, with the time that they were allotted.
I'm sure we were deprived of at least 3 different CM Punk references. We'll have to make do with the ones we got.
Yeah. But with that, we move on to our main event. And finally, all the salt and sort of negativity we've been spewing can come to an end with this main event.
Jack, I watched that pre-show, and in the pre-show, Jack, it is 8:30 in the morning. It is revealed that Brie Garcia, formerly Brie Bella, is going to sit at ringside, and I almost spat my breakfast out.
Oh, man. Sir.
I was so in my head immediately at that revelation that Brie, the wife of Bryan Danielson, and their children were going to be at ringside for this match.
Yeah, once they let that be known, I was like, my goodness. I was like, I wasn't fully expecting, because like I told my dad when they made the announcement, I'm like, if there's anyone that was ever going to lose a title versus career match, it would be Danielson,
But I brought it up to you at SummerSlam, or maybe Forbidden Door, that I don't think he ends his career in Europe. I think he ends it in Washington. Or he definitely
Yeah.
ends it in the States. You know what I mean? He's like MJF and Will Ospreay, and they're all a bunch of nerds. Sting. They were like, Sting's gonna end his career last year at All In. I'm like, Sting is gonna end it in America.
Yeah. But so like I was just like I was like I mean you know me I'm one of the biggest Danielson fans. I was like I'll take the win, but like a part of me was still like I wouldn't be surprised he sees a big up and coming talent in Swerve and just is like I don't care what you want, Tony Khan, I'm still losing. I'm upholding my promise to my daughter,
Who's sitting at ringside. Um, and I think they wanted this to feel like Rock versus Mankind at Royal Rumble 98 or 99. Remember that?
Mm.
A very important difference to make a note of, Jack. Why did this not quite hit as much as that Rock Mankind I Quit match from Royal Rumble? They didn't tell Noel Foley anything about what was going to happen. I feel like they let Bryan Danielson's children in on the whole event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Noelle Foley's reaction to everything that happened to her dad at Royal Rumble, I think, came from a sincere place of not knowing it was going to happen.
Yeah. But getting into first the entrances, sir, what'd you think?
I wondered, well, with Bree and the family there, how are they going to balance Swerve's, his baby face with an edge attitude? How are they going to sort of balance that? They're not, Jack. They're going to throw it out the window, out of the plane on their way to London because my man is full heel in a Gunther WrestleMania 40 with Mrs. Sami Zayn at ringside kind of vibes.
Yeah. Swerve. This is kind of what I wanted to see more from Swerve's world title reign. Still enjoyed his world title reign, but like I think I've mentioned to you anytime we've covered it, it was like this is what I wanted more out of, that like full on heel that we saw last year, and like this was it, like stomping him out in front of his kids, where you see like Brie having to cover his son's eyes, and the funniest thing, he stomps him out, starts talking smack to their kids. And then here comes Nana doing the dance in their face afterwards.
That's good. Yeah. We get what was it, like a Death Valley driver on the apron, but on the ring bell?
Yeah.
And what got me worked up about that, Jack, we could have drawn blood, but it was coming from the wrong part of the head.
Yeah.
If his head hit the bell, he starts bleeding from his forehead. I don't know if you saw Bloodsport in June, but Moxley also Barnett draws blood from Moxley, and the move that got blood didn't warrant the amount of blood. It made me think of that. I'm like,
At the start of the match, Danielson hit that like crazy dive, which I think he was only able to do because of how extended the outside was. I don't know if you saw that, but like where the commentators table was, it was
a lot of space.
Yeah. So he hits like this huge dive out there. I thought that was good.
That was good.
I liked, Swerve really digging into that edge, doing a lot of stuff. Trying to think of other spots that stand out. There was quite a few like Busaiku knees where I was like, man, that's kind of a lot to like hit, But
there was one that Swerve like no sells.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because he like just backed up. Like I thought he found like the trick, the best defense to it was just to like not run into it, but to walk away from it. Because it doesn't look like he hit it all.
Yeah, I really liked that one, especially because you just see like, I don't know what Excalibur or I think it was Shivani, one of them was looking at, but they were like, oh, he's out cold. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like fully standing. And I like how he does like the little like brushes it off. I like how someone said, it really goes to show, like, or like it really added to the match, like making you think, like, I wouldn't go as far as to say this, but this is the way someone worded it. They were like, it makes you start to think, is Danielson washed? And I was like, I wouldn't go as far as to say washed, but it does make you think, it's like, dang, does he not have that that oomph to it, to like land it, as good as he's done before. Um, there's the spot where he's laying in the kicks, and Danielson starts, amping up, standing up, and then like he lays Swerve out with like 2 slaps.
Yes, love his slaps. Did Swerve hit a vertebraker?
He did. That one looked crazy.
It looked also like the safest vertebraker anyone's ever taken, but they're going to do the Bryan Danielson special of call the doctor no one's seen all night. Let's double check my man and make sure he's alive. I'm like...
And my only issue with doctor spots is that it's like, why don't we ever see repercussions for the other person getting them out the ring? Like at least like after the fact being like, oh, we're fining this person for doing that because you got to let the doctors check. It's like the doctors come in, it's like, even though it's supposed to be like this whole like a medical thing, like we got to make sure he's all right before continuing the match. It's like anytime they do that, it's like the other person's always just like, get out of here, and the doctor's like, all right, fine, we'll leave. It's like I would like to see a bit more like logic to that type of spot,
It's like roughing up a ref, which also comes with no ramifications.
Yeah. Trying to think of some other spots. I mean, we see Swerve hit some real good house calls.
Yes.
I would honestly prefer him to really use the house call, and I think he calls it big pressure now, the JML driver. I would prefer he use those 2 as his finish, just because the foot stomp, it never connects, especially they can never really get the camera angle right to where you don't see it not connect, because I swear every time he hits it, they always angle it where you see him literally not stomp them, So it's like...
We did see a JML driver that Danielson kicks out of, and Swerve gives us that good old-fashioned, I'm spooked by his resilience face.
Yeah. And then we see Swerve hit with another Busaiku knee that Danielson then sets up to another one, this time to the back of the head, that sends him into the turnbuckle.
That was good.
Yeah, gets him down, gets him in the label lock. Swerve starts to get out, only for Danielson to grab the hands, do the joint manipulation, and then turn it into a Rings of Saturn.
Yes. You are building up to the finish of this match, but we'd be remiss if we didn't also make note of an appearance of Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah,
in the midst of all of it, right? Because we didn't have enough story in this match. Something's going on. A bunch of people are trying to subdue somebody. It's Hangman Adam Page. What are you doing here? It's the best kind of interference, Jack. The kind with no physical ramifications on the match. He's just outside. I don't remember if he distracted Swerve from pinning or hitting a move.
I think it was what distracted him, because then he turns back and gets hit with the Busaiku knee, I believe.
Agreed. Yes. Yes.
And I kind of liked Hangman's interference here, where it's like he doesn't have to get involved in any way. It's just like a small distraction that doesn't influence the match too much, But I will say, I think this could have been improved upon had he won the Casino Gauntlet, because then it's like it adds more what is it? What do I want to say? Like, it adds more reason for him being out there. It adds more unpredictability for him being out there, like, is he gonna try and cash in now,
I think there was a lot more potential, right? And here he's gonna distract Swerve and cost him the match and the title and kind of get his attention. You're like, you're gonna fight me. I wanna fight you. I'm going to insist that you want to fight me. If he had won the Casino Gauntlet, it would have been this really wild angle. It could have been a really wild angle where he helps Swerve win, where he helps his enemy keep his title so that he can challenge for it next.
Yeah. But but he's rushed out of there. Build to the spot, like I said. We see Swerve fighting his hardest before finally tapping out. And Bryan Danielson has won the AEW World Championship, adding himself to that lineage, which, I think is the big reason, especially for the win. Much like Sting, it's like Tony Khan wants Danielson's name in that lineage.
Agreed.
Yeah, but Danielson wins, gets to celebrate with his family. Blackpool Combat Club comes out, and Pac as well, who is in full ring gear. I think that's the thing I will always find funny about Pac. He's always in ring gear. You never see him in casual gear. That man's just always in ring gear.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I went in thinking he was going to win, so there was no surprise. Happy for him. Wondering where this leads,
Gotta mention it. Final Countdown was used because he's a big nerd.
I liked in the hype video Swerve telling him that this was going to be his final countdown. I was like, that's a good line. That's a I'm going to beat you line.
Yeah. Oh, I also got to mention, what really sold me, I mean, I was already sold because it's Bryan Danielson versus Swerve. I'm going to love this match a lot. But when they did that video package for Danielson's career with Time of Your Life by Green Day, I was like, oh, that's an excellent touch, But
how funny that in 20 years no one's written a better say goodbye song.
I know. But glad to see Danielson win. I mean, I'm never going to be upset. But like you said, wonder where we go from here. Because, I mean, we got the announcement that Bryan Danielson's going to address his future on Dynamite. And a part of me is just like, I really hope you don't just relinquish that belt and we have to do another tournament, You
got to lose it.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it even if he loses it at Wrestle Dream in October, I think is probably when it's going to happen. I'll take it, if he loses there.
Zack Sabre Jr. cashes in his G1 Climax Championship opportunity on this title. There's, you know what? There's a lot of different people who can beat him. Christian Cage is going to beat him.
Oh,
Jack, what do you think of the night overall?
I really enjoyed this show. Definitely up there amongst my favorites of the year. I got to compare it with Revolution. Revolution always ends up being a good show.
Right.
I don't know. I think a lot of people might not agree because it was only 5 or 6 matches. I can't remember compared to how long and how many quality matches we get here. But I think I may still have King and Queen of the Ring as my show of the year. Not to spoil my end of year videos, but I think I still have that one because it was a lot of good stuff on that show.
Yeah. For me, the show of the year has been NXT Heatwave, which was a wild 2.5 hour show. It's if there was 6 matches on it, the weakest match on that card was an Ospreay MJF match. You know what I mean? It was a solid affair. And when it comes to the last Sunday, I don't know, the Mariah May Tony Storm match might be the match of the night for me. But what I think really reflecting on is how many literal instantaneous moments I look back fondly on. Mariah May winning, as interference, Nigel McGuinness existing in a ring in shorts. You know what I mean? There were literal moments that I thought it was worth tuning into the show for to see live.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you. I think it's between Danielson, Swerve, obviously because of my bias, and Mariah May and Tony Storm is my match of the night. Really enjoyed those two. Really enjoyed the ladder match for the trios titles, the Casino Gauntlet.
Another moment, right? Another moment. Nigel McGuinness's promo in the pre-show, and Will Ospreay taking out that cameraman. It reminded me of the Ospreay Danielson match in April. Remember when he hits that hidden blade after the doctors check on him, but he was hit his back turned. He was so excited. The fact that I'm I hate the doctors are checking on him, but the fact that he goes in with 110% of his strength into it. I thought of that when I saw him with that. Because, he doesn't pull any punches with this cameraman. He goes, he threw the camera into this man's face. I'm my goodness, this was Big Show hurling Rey Mysterio onto that ring post strapped to that gurney moment for me.
Yeah. A real great night. Sir, better than last year's?
Oh, let me think about I was really thinking about last year's because of how I hate Jack. This company, they knew they were coming to the show. They knew they were going to have the show, and they made so many weird booking decisions, And it reminded me of the main event last year. It was MJF versus a guy who's his best friend, kind of tag team partner, kind of tag team championship partner. No one turned on each other. Remember that?
Yeah, I saw someone talk about that where they were saying that, at the time, it seemed like Tony Khan, biggest show of the year, wanted a happy moment to close the show. But in hindsight, when you see all that followed, when you see how much got derailed after the fact, you kind of wish something happened at that main event to change things,
I'm going to say, honestly, that last year was better. What do you say?
I might have to lean that way too. I mean, I really have to go back and look at it because it's like
right away. My thought is like last year had Punk versus Joe, that I really liked, and I don't know if I like the match this year as much as I like that match.
Yeah. Let me pull it up real quick because we have, plenty of time in recording. Let's see. There was Punk versus Joe, Bullet Club Gold, and Konosuke Takeshita facing off against the Golden Elite. FTR.
You had a Konosuke versus Omega moment there.
Yeah, he pinned Omega. That's something I mentioned in the video. He pinned Omega twice in like a week span, and what's he doing now?
Yeah.
FTR retaining against the Young Bucks. Stadium Stampede.
That was good.
Yeah. Saraya winning the championship in the 4-way.
That was cringe.
Yeah. Darby and Sting defeating Christian and Swerve in the coffin match.
That was serviceable.
Yeah. Ospreay facing off against Chris Jericho.
It had the right ending.
The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn beating House of Black for the trios titles. And then MJF defeating Adam Cole. I think after seeing all this, I may be more inclined to say 2023 because even though it has, Saraya winning and it has Ospreay Jericho, but then again, I probably prefer Ospreay Jericho over Jericho Hook from this year.
Agreed, Jack. A very good observation when we're comparing apples to apples.
And not to mention, last year didn't have, what was the match I was complaining about the most? I mean, Hook and Jericho probably, but also, last year they made a big deal about Mercedes Moné being in the crowd. They get her for a match this year, and it was against Britt Baker and what was tied with Jericho. Is like, at least Jericho had Taz choking someone out,
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, I may be more inclined to say last year's, but I think maybe the peaks of this year are higher, with Tony Storm.
Ooh, I like that. Yes.
Tony Storm, Mariah May, Danielson, Swerve are definitely the higher peaks, but I think there's more consistency, especially when you compare certain things, like the tag title match, I think maybe last year's might have been a bit better. The coffin match last year was definitely better because it got more time.
Yeah. And then, but this year, those peaks that you described, Will Ospreay hitting the hidden blade on that cameraman, I think... Oh, how does that compare to Joe swinging CM Punk into that commentary table? Oh, that's a question I'm going to lie awake thinking about.
How does it compare to CM Punk walking out smiling, knowing that he's probably not going to be with this company after this match?
Did you know that Drew McIntyre is the uncrowned AEW champion, having beat CM Punk at SummerSlam?
Oh, man.
Jack, will you be watching All Out?
More than likely.
Okay.
More than likely.
It's gonna take some doing to get me to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll cover it, to be honest with the listeners, but it might. It all depends. I mean, last year, because everything happened like back to back, like we kind of covered it. But, I remember people saying they felt like All Out ended up being the better show than All In last year because of some of the matches that happened.
I do remember. Oh man, can you imagine if lightning striking twice? And I think it does happen around the time of Bash at Berlin.
Yeah, I think it's the week after. Because Bash at Berlin is next week, or no, not next week. Sorry, this Saturday.
Is it?
Yeah, it's this Saturday.
August 30th, 31st.
Yeah, 31st.
Oh man.
Yeah, hold on,
and it's gonna be a. Oh man.
All Out last year had. I'm not gonna include the pre-show. It had Adam Cole and MJF facing the Dark Order for the the ROH tag titles.
Remember that? Remember them holding those titles hostage?
Yeah, Samoa Joe facing off against Shane Taylor for the ROH Television Championship. Like I said, Luchasaurus Darby Allin for the TNT. Miro and Hobbs. Statlander versus Ruby Soho for the TBS Championship. Danielson defeating Starks in the strap match.
Oh, poor Jack in 2023 was like this. This is Stark's star-making performance. It's nothing but.
I said the same thing too. Yuta and Claudio facing off against Eddie and Shibata. Takeshita defeating Omega 1-on-1. 8-man tag with Bullet Club Gold defeating FTR and the Young Bucks. And then Moxley defeating Cassidy for the AEW International Championship.
That was a good match. Yeah. That was a very good match. That was, one that I remember and I think about when Orange Cassidy fights. I go, is this the best Orange Cassidy match I've ever seen? No. There was that Moxley one, September 23, that really, really wowed me.
Yeah. But got a lot of wrestling to look forward to because it's Bash at Berlin, and then it's All Out, and then I think it's Bad Blood and Wrestle Dream happening in October, probably. Or maybe Bad Blood happens in September, I forget when.
Don't forget NXT No Mercy.
No Mercy, where Vakur and Julia more than likely make their appearances.
Goodness gracious.
And then, hey, when do Ray and Phoenix make their appearance? Or sorry, Ray and Phoenix and Penta.
In their suits, talking about their destinos.
Oh man! And then, hey, after that, we slowly start approaching the end of the year, where of course you got Mr. Solis and I giving our top 10 matches of the year.
Woohoo!
And hey, that'll be the first one since we started. That'll take place where I will be in a different geographical location.
Is there a time difference?
I don't think so.
Oh, great. In Idaho there is. My brother is an hour ahead, inexplicably. Mountain time.
I know, yeah, they get an hour ahead because of, they don't do, what's it called, daylight savings.
Oh!
So when that happens, they're an hour ahead.
I see.
Yeah. But other than that, they're usually on the same time.
I dig it.
Yeah. But
Jack, this is fun. A nice long episode we didn't have to break for.
Yeah. 148 minutes currently. Sorry, 148 minutes. Sorry. An hour and 48 minutes.
Oh, that's a lot more manageable to listen.
Yeah, I was about to say 148 minutes. I
was like, what, the Christopher Nolan?
No. This is a Zack Snyder moment.
Goodness.
And then I'm gonna create a Patreon for the Triple Crown and tell people to tune in not Triple Crown, the Call It Anything podcast, and be like, tune in for the Jack and Mr. Solis cut that has extra footage that makes it even longer, 3 hours long.
Even more salt than your body can even retain.
But any final thoughts, sir?
Are you done? No, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, we'll be here next Tuesday for Bash at Berlin.
Let's go. I'll be ready.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see. Very interested for that card. I see a lot of good matches. Very interested to see if it lives to the hype that I've been saying about King and Queen of the Ring as my WWE show of the year so far.
I'm going to call it here, whether it's Kevin Owens or whether it's Orton. I think one of them should win their matches.
And, like I've mentioned it many times, being a wrestling podcaster is having your takes age terribly, like the moment you put them out. But I don't know what happens tomorrow on Wednesday, but I'll just say it now while it's still true. What a wrestling world we live in, where we have Bryan Danielson, Gunther, and Cody Rhodes as our world champions.
Yes, Jack, you said it. You've doomed one of them.
I'm Drew McIntyre. Oh yeah, my dad, and Nia Jax is women's champion. But I'm Drew McIntyre. After suffering through Roman's long reign, I prayed for a moment in time like this where these were my champions, and it happened.
In the build up to the Randy Orton match, I've just been waiting for him to tell Gunther I just want him to go, that doesn't work for me, brother.
Oh man. But with that all being said, we'll see you next week for covering Bash at Berlin. I've been Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
Thank you all for joining for this one. Hope you enjoy the long content, and we'll catch you on the next one.